Gon' kick it off then. Whoa. Gon' kick it off then. It ain't a game, kick it off then. Whoa. So gon' kick it off then. Huh? What we talking about, it goes deep.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching SHESP in the network. Another fantastic episode of WTF Too, Women Talk Football Too, and we thank you for tuning in. I'm Latasha Miles, aka Joan Madden, the Gridiron Goddess, and I am accompanied by my amazing, intelligent, beautiful, and awesome co-host. Let the good people know who you are.
What's up, everybody? It's the touchdown time, boy.
No doubt.
Well, how's everybody doing today? I hope everybody's doing well. We have a lot to unpack this week.
Definitely a lot of baggage going on. And one of those things are, of course, the up and coming stage being set for Super Bowl 56, the LA Rams taking on the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday, February 13th at SoFi Stadium. So many subplots and storylines with this game, including several first timers and several returnees. In the midst of the Super Bowl shuffling, we saw some head coaching changes sneak in there. We saw Brian Flores kick off Black History Month with a bang. Hugh Jackson has chimed in to his defense. Washington, the former Washington Redskins, the former Washington football team, they've now gone with the Washington Commanders as their team name, logo, and mascot. And Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. has finally officially retired. So we'll discuss those topics and a lot more on this episode. But here we go with the first quarter. Super Bowl 56, the Rams hosting a game in their own backyard for a second week in a row as they take on the underdogs, the Bengals, coming up on the second Sunday in February. Now, touchdown time, but without diving too much to the game, of course, as we'll talk more about it next week. But are you very surprised with this matchup? How do you like this matchup? It comes as a surprise to you? And how did the Bengals and Rams get there?
Here's the thing. So I always start by saying it. Here's the thing. So actually, I love this matchup. I love this matchup, number one, because it's new, it's refreshing. And then we get to see two quarterbacks who haven't gone to the Super Bowl giving a duel it out, you know. So that in itself is gonna be fun, and just the lightheartedness of it. And then I see two teams that have been getting off offensively this year. And so I think that it's just going to be an exciting matchup. I think for Joe and Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, aka Macaulay Culkin, I think that the biggest thing that has been about them is they've been fearless. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that Joe Burrow has been fearless. Like, he has feared no one. And it's like, even in those moments of pressure when you thought he was going to crack, he didn't, you know, like he just rose to the occasion, you know, and everybody has been talking about, you know, how bad, you know, his offensive line and his defense was supposed to be. Well, they didn't look all that bad last week to me. And so they were making the plays that were necessary to put them in the position that they needed to be in. And so I think that's why we're seeing the Bengals transcend and to actually be where they are. And I expect this to possibly be happening for some years, because that's a young core group of people, you know, especially with Jamar Chase. And if you think about it, this is really Joe's rookie season, because last season he was hurt. So, you know, you got a rookie under center going to the Super Bowl. Like, that is bananas. And then as for the Rams, I think with all that's going on with the Rams I think most of theirs started this past offseason with the trade for Matt Stafford. And so now, although I was very disappointed in Matt Stafford's play last Sunday, Matt Stafford was still an upgrade from Jared Goff. So, you know, here we go. So he was able to do more in terms of the way he's able to get the ball to Cooper Kupp. And then you got to think Cooper Kupp has accelerated, like, his level of play. Like, he's gone from here to, like, I don't know, out here somewhere, you know. That's why I'm saying Cooper Kupp needs to be MVP. Because, like, this guy got like almost 1,900 yards in a regular season. He's over 2,000 yards now. Like, that's monstrous. And nobody else has done that since Megatron. Megatron was the only other person that did that in the regular season. And he had like 1,900 yards in the regular season. And so that's unheard of. And then, so you're talking about the trade for Matt Stafford in offseason. Then you're talking about Cooper Kupp has accelerated his game. And then, in addition to having Aaron Donald, they did some trading midseason where they beefed up their defensive line in getting Von Miller to come and help the Aaron Donald. And then they got OBJ, who's just as good as Cooper Kupp, to come run sideline with Cooper Kupp. And so like now they're humming like a well-oiled machine. And so they just said, look, it's all enough for us. And I think that's some of the beauty of what the Rams have done to kind of elevate that team to say, we are now Super Bowl caliber. And then they've made those plays defensively with the Jalen Ramseys. And now, you know, they got Eric Waterback. Like I couldn't even tell that he hadn't played in 2 or 3 years because he was still out there doing his business. So like, I mean, I think all of that has just kind of added up to where we are now. And I'm just so excited to be able to discuss this game and stuff next week. But for right now, we're going to have to go on. And I'm going to have to let you have it because else I'm going to be going into a whole nother spiel.
No, it's so good. No worries. And it's crazy. Like I said, you know, we never know what we're going to say until we actually have this meetup. But I totally agree with you about being completely in love with this matchup. For a lot of the reasons you mentioned, but like this is honestly one of the first times in years that I don't have a vendetta in this game. Like I'm actually can enjoy the game. I actually can root for both teams wholeheartedly and not really have anything personal or not wanting like, oh gosh, they done already won or I can't stand that player. I really don't have any of those intentions with this game. Like I really just get to sit back and enjoy and hopefully it's a good game. And plus these are, like you said, the newness of it. Both teams are definitely overdue to get this Lombardi. Of course, Cincy with their drought, they are tugging at my heart. They're really tugging at my heartstrings, even to the point I know they're a division rival, but you know, because Cincy hasn't won, honestly, and because we have been like big brother to them for so many years, we really don't have a legitimate beef with them. So I can root for them with an open heart and a clear conscience and not really tripping. And if they do win, they do make our division look better. They do make the AFC North look better, that we got a Lombardi back in the AFC North again. You know, Baltimore did it against the 49ers not that long ago. And I don't like Baltimore as much, obviously, but again, it keeps our division relevant. We can add to the trophy case and it will be Cincinnati's first one. So I would not have a problem with that whatsoever. You know, it's young talent too. So it also gives us something to look forward to. We really don't have to worry about anybody kind of retiring, riding off to the sunset. Like, you know, there was some concern about Brady doing that last year when he won, even though he had another year in the contract, there was a lot of uncertainty. We really don't have to worry about Burrow saying this is it afterwards, or Chase saying this is it, or Mixon being like, I'm done, you know? So we get a bright future to look forward to as well coming from Cincinnati, especially if they win the Lombardi, and it might be the first of many. And then plus there's a lot of local talent in Cincinnati. A lot of those players have played high school and or college locally, High Point, Thomasville, Winston-Salem, and Boone, North Carolina. So like I'll root for that. I always want the homies to do well, you know? I mean, who knows? We might have some fanfare and stuff going on in the city as well if they get it. So good for them. That will be dope. And they're the underdogs. I mean, I've been an underdog all my life. So I root for the underdogs. That was really initially when I first rooted for Tom Brady, his first Super Bowl, because he was an underdog against the Rams, because the Rams had previously won a Super Bowl and they were like a 17-point underdog. And I was like rooting for Tom Brady as well, a young quarterback going in with the uncertainty and all the pressure of, oh, they're going to get dogged, and they actually won that. So I kind of feel like that. And there are a lot of people are comparing Joe Burrow to like a young Tom Brady, as well as like Patrick Mahomes. So I really, really like those guys as well. You know, the Rams, they have rings in their history, but I feel so bad for Sean McVay, that Super Bowl they lost 3 years ago. And I've been riding they were just a quarterback away, and it looks like they finally got one. I mean, even though, like you said, some of the posts that you were saying on Sunday, like it's like the ghost of Detroit type of Stafford. We did see a lot of that on Sunday. He cannot afford to make those mistakes at the Super Bowl. So I was really, really getting tickled off of it. Like you said, that game, Matt Stafford almost lost that game for them. You're absolutely right. So I'm rooting for him too, because it's been long overdue for him. He spent all that time, and he was the reason for Detroit having most of the success, any of the success that they had, including getting to the playoffs. So it's really nice to see him in there, the newness of it. You know, Casey's been to 4 AFC championship games straight. Didn't want to see them again, and I definitely didn't want San Fran to get a 6th ring with my boys. Now for the Rams, I think they got there because they're so headstrong, they're so determined, they have something to prove. They risk so much, and you don't want to get that far with everything that you gave up and sacrificed, and then show up and lay an egg. Like, I think it's that headstrong mentality that they're running with. Of course, Aaron Donald, he's talking about, I got all these defensive player of the years, I got all these accolades, Pro Bowls, but he's felt incomplete because he does not have that ring. He feels like a little bit of his legacy is tarnished because he does not have that ring to complete it. So he's going into this very focused. And you think he's not hungry? Von Miller, you think he don't want to get another ring and with another team, maybe try to get another Super Bowl MVP? He's hungry. Matt Stafford, Odell, first time they want to cement their legacy after taking so long to get there. And, the droughts that they've had. So I think the main things that the Rams have also done is they've had big plays at the right times. They were up 27-3 against the Bucks. Bucks were on a comeback trail, but they had that big play, Stafford Lincoln to Cooper Kupp, got them in field goal range at the right time. Last week, they were down against the 49ers. They had a comeback trail, and then they took the lead, but San Fran had the ball last. They were driving, and then they had that big defensive play where they forced Garoppolo to have that game deciding interception. So they came up with the big plays at the right time. And I think that turning it on at the right time has gotten them there, and just being on this mission of knowing what all they sacrificed. I think those have been some driving forces for them. Now for Cincy to get in the Super Bowl, a little bit more unorthodox. Like you said, the route that they've taken, I look at it the same way. They never lost sight. They've always kept their cool. They got a young coach. He's always very poised on the sideline. I mean, he might get upset about a call or two, as most do, but you never really see them ruffled. You never really see them rattled. I mean, the Raiders, they were coming back in that first playoff game, and the Bengals, like, okay, they knew it was possible, but they never lost sight. Like they maintained, and they kept their cool and their composure, and they stopped Cincy from winning. Their quarterback got sacked 9 times against Tennessee. They were losing that game. Never lost composure, never panicked, still got the game on the road with the big upset, never lost composure. Same thing last week in Kansas City, down 21-3 at the half. People wrote them off. Oh, typical Patrick Mahomes. It's over for the Bengals. Pack it up. They adjusted. On defense, they stalled Pat Mahomes and company. Even in overtime, the coin toss, it looked very reminiscent from like it did with Buffalo. It went in Kansas City's favor. We all saw what Patrick Mahomes did last week with 13 seconds against the Bills. Very scary times for Cincinnati. Kept their composure. And what did they do in their 13 seconds? They forced a turnover. So it's just, they never lost sight. They remain focused, remain poised. Their quarterback, they call him Joe Cool. He don't flinch. He don't panic. And I think it's been a complete reflection on the team. That cool personality has them on that hot streak. And now we find them in the Super Bowl. Now
and
moving on to the
Kid Cudi.
Oh yeah, and Kid Cudi, who just had a birthday as well. He showed him some birthday love. And Kid Cudi, very cool and composed on a lot of his stuff too. So that fits as well. So yeah, good stuff there with those teams. So with the second quarter, we saw a lot of players take accountability in those losses. The two familiar teams in these conference games and the Super Bowls that they've recently had in recent years, of course, that came to a screeching halt for them on Sunday. Now, Andy Reid, he has taken 4 years in a row an NFC team to the championship game, and 4 years in a row he's taken an AFC team to the championship game. Very illustrious moments in his career. So apparently, and obviously he's coming back. No threat there. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, these guys seem to be coming back, and others. For the 49ers, Debo's coming back. Might not be able to say the same for Jimmy Garoppolo, as the trade rumors are starting to brew. He wants to go to a winning team. John Lynch seeming like he's getting ready to trade him. So what's the future look like for him? Touchdown Tomboy for Jimmy Garoppolo. But also, what do the 49ers do as a whole to try to get that 6th ring that they've been close to the past 7 and 8 seasons? And also, what do the Chiefs do to return to their 5th straight AFC Championship game next year and go beyond that?
So, couple things. So the first thing about Jimmy is that I know we give Jimmy a lot of grief, but I promise you there are a lot of quarterbacks that are worse than Jimmy. And so I think that Jimmy will land on his feet because you got Miami, New Orleans, they all need quarterbacks. Tampa is gonna need a quarterback now.
Right.
You guys are gonna need a quarterback. I mean, we need a quarterback. I mean, so it's a bunch of teams that need a quarterback.
Yeah.
So Jimmy gonna land on his feet. In terms of what was the second part of that question you asked me?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
about the 49ers. With the 49ers, for them to get that 6th ring, first of all, I think that it's gonna depend because what's gonna happen is you're gonna have to see some development in Trey Lance. We got to get him on the field and we got to see him develop. We got to see some progression there. Okay. And we got to determine, hey, is he really our guy or is this a bluff? Okay. Because we know that Trey has an arm. We know that Trey has an arm, not like Jimmy, but we need to make sure that Trey is going to be able to elevate his game and keep his cool in those hot moments and that he's not going to be a turnover machine like Jimmy. And so that's what you need to know is that in those bad moments, he can still make really good decisions. And that's what you're looking for. And I think that that's all the 49ers really are, honestly, is a piece of weight because they have them now. It was just that in those moments, they couldn't rely on Jimmy to make good decisions. And I think if they get a quarterback or if they found that in Trey Lance that he can make good decisions in critical moments, they'll be fine and they'll get that 6th ring sooner rather than later.
All right, what do you think about the Chiefs? What they need to do?
So now the Chiefs, I've always told you, the Chiefs' job has never always been the offense. It's always been the defense. And I saw that again this lesson. It's like the defense is like they just can't get it together. It's like they might do something good for a little while, but they can't consistently play 60 minutes of football and give you 60 minutes of a good team. The best that I had ever seen that defense play was, I want to say, when I saw them play the Bills. That was the best I had seen them play. And it's just like they always somehow figure out not how to play 60 minutes. And so they're going to have to figure out how to get them some studs up front, number one, to get pressure to the quarterback, because I don't think Joe Burrow got sacked at all on Sunday, which says a lot because the previous game he was sacked 9 times.
Right.
Then on top of that, so they're going to have to get pressure up front, and then they're going to have to get some studs in that backfield, in that secondary, that's going to be able to help them to really make, some serious plays that forces the quarterback back to hold the ball longer and force him to make mistakes. And I think once they can get that defense together, I think they'll be okay, because I think offensively they already have the pieces. But you can't be so focused on the offense that you don't focus on getting premium pieces, not just the Melvin Ingrams, but you're going to need other pieces outside of Melvin Ingram on the defensive side of the ball. And I think once Kansas City does that, I think that you'll see the full round of Kansas City, the balanced football Kansas City, and they'll get back to a championship game.
So the fact that you're focusing so much on the defense, which I agree with you, how much of this do you blame with Steve Spagnuolo? Do you think they should retain him, look for other options at the defensive coordinator position, or?
I don't know. And the reason why I say I don't know is because sometimes I feel like the coach is fired, but given the talent that he has, he does the best he can do, if that makes sense. Yeah, so absolutely. I can't say that just yet.
Gotcha. I didn't know if he thought he might have been on the hot seat or anything like that.
I don't know. They may feel like that, but honestly, the offense didn't score any points in the second half. So
that's a good point. Very much so. And like you said, we do give Jimmy G a lot of flack on here, but I don't agree with him being traded. I really don't. I think that they think it's like an inevitable decision, but if you're relying on Trey Lance as the next man up, I just don't think he's ready. He hasn't had enough opportunity on the field. He hasn't had enough looks. I mean, even sometimes when he was on there, they were running a hybrid quarterback situation where they were plugging them both in. And I actually like that. I think that some of the success that the 49ers had earlier in the season, it came because they were running the hybrid quarterback scheme. And going away from that, I think they became a little bit more predictable, a little bit more one-dimensional, and a little bit more basic. So I honestly, as much as I talk about Jimmy G, I'm advocating for him not to get traded, more so because I don't trust Trey Lance yet. I think that the 49ers as a whole, regardless of what they do with Jimmy G, if they move on with Trey Lance, I think that they still need some dynamic playmakers on offense because you have to take some of that pressure off of Debo and off of Kittle. I mean, look when Kittle was injured and and that's not to take away anything from Debo because Debo is a machine. Debo was a savior, but I'm just saying, you have to not be so predictable. You have to not be able to just rely on Debo and Debo only. It's not even fair to him to have to do so much, but he can, and he was, and he's able to. But like I said, you just have to not be like a one-man show because it's going to start to become predictable and people are going to figure out ways to do something, not so much for Debo per se, but that's just typically how it goes. Once they figure out your schemes, they look at film, they break it down, they study it, and they make the adjustments, and they find ways to slow down who your best option is. Again, Debo's an outlier here. He's definitely an anomaly, but I'm just saying, just from an overall perspective. But I think that that's honestly what San Fran needs to look at first and foremost. Secondly, Coach Shanahan. Sir, you need to work on closing out games because you have been responsible for coaching 2 double-digit losses in recent Super Bowls, one with the 49ers against Kansas City. You were up 20-10 2 years ago. You lost that one. And then when you were with Atlanta, you were up 28-3 in the third quarter against the Patriots, and you succumbed to that one too. So you need to work on closing games, sir. I'm definitely eyeballing you. And then you turned around this past weekend, you did the same thing in the championship game. So that might be something that you need to work on personally away from the personnel that you have on the field. This is an internal issue here for you as a coach that you really need to work on closing out games. Also, I think that the 49ers, I just really believe they just need to secure a couple of more dynamic playmakers. You need you another Debo, maybe in a receiver type position. Your quarterback, whichever one you go with, might need to step up in things like that. Because I think Jimmy G's biggest issue is, like you were saying, he makes costly mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect, but you can't throw interceptions in the red zone. You can't throw interceptions 20 yards away from the opposition. And then like Sunday, they could kick a field goal and win the game because of the position that you're in, the location that you're in on the field, and setting up the opposition. So I don't know. I just think that that's kind of just some stuff that needs to be worked on, as opposed to just completely writing him off. But if they do trade him, I know he wants to go to a winner, and I think that he deserves to go to a winner. So I would say maybe look at Aaron Rodgers. I mean, for the first time in Aaron Rodgers' postseason career, he could help San Francisco win games in their jersey instead of a Green Bay jersey. I mean, so the 49ers, they are Aaron Rodgers' home team. He always wanted to play for them. He has said that 49ers is going to make the 49ers regret not picking him up, or make him, like you've already made him eat those words as far as in the playoffs, but maybe let him show improve and see. Maybe he might be the missing link. Maybe he might need a change of scenery. Maybe you do too. So if you are going to trade him, I will look into it because I haven't heard a lot about Aaron Rodgers going to Denver in a while to reunite with his offensive coordinator. I think they also got like his quarterbacks coach or something like that, but I haven't heard a lot about Aaron Rodgers. That's gotten kind of quiet. Not to say that he won't necessarily go to Denver, but if he doesn't go to Denver, I will probably looking at maybe working out a trade with them and sending Aaron Rodgers out there. Because also with Trey Lance not being ready, in my opinion, him getting some guidance from a future Hall of Fame quarterback who has won a Super Bowl, I think that could only serve as a bonus. So then going forward, then Trey Lance will be ready. Because right now, I honestly don't think that he is. So if you were going to trade Jimmy G, I would say look at Aaron Rodgers. Now, for the Chiefs to return to their 5th straight championship game next season and go beyond that, they're going to have to deal with some key free agents. As you mentioned, Melvin Ingram, he's a free agent. Honey Badger, and so was Orlando Brown. Now, to me, these are all great acquisitions. I think they should keep all 3. But if they are going to lose one, it probably will be Honey Badger. I think he might could get a payday somewhere else. But honestly, I think that they should retain all 3 because those are the best parts of their suspect defense. They also have 8 draft picks, which is very good. So I'm about like you. I would focus on definitely defensive pieces and maybe one more offensive playmaker at wide receiver since the Josh Gordon experiment didn't work out. Maybe even one more piece of protection for Patrick Mahomes. But honestly, I'm starting to see that some of this is some of the offensive line issues. I'm actually starting to see they're more flawed on Patrick Mahomes' behalf because he's always looking for like some type of spectacular, dramatic highlight, some type of just big play. Well, like, dude, sometimes you can just do a check down. You can just keep it simple. So you kind of set your offensive line up sometimes too. So I don't know. Those would probably be the things that I would look at if I were Kansas City, but they definitely need to be more physical and more visible on defense next year before they end up in the same position that they did this year. All right, so T Square, what you got for our halftime presentation this week?
So this week, okay, so man, first of all, how it's almost like last week's halftime was almost like the prelude to what happened in the world this week. That was bananas to me. And that was really scary. Because I was like, wait, we just talked about this on our podcast last week. And here we are this week. And we got a whole lawsuit and some other things going on. And we'll talk about that later. But for today's halftime show, I really wanted to keep it light. So what I decided to do is I wanted to talk about basically a couple fun facts that have happened in the Super Bowl that you may or may not know. Okay. So now, I don't know if y'all know this, but last year was the lowest watched Super Bowl in the history of Super Bowls.
That was Tampa and Kansas City. Wow.
That was the lowest reported Super Bowl viewing. And it only recorded 96.4 million viewers.
I am floored because I thought people were watching Brady thinking it might be his last year. Wow.
Lowest viewing. The highest viewing Super Bowl. I know you know this one. What was the highest viewing Super Bowl? It was in recent years.
I want to say probably Baltimore and San Fran because the two brothers coaches were going against each other.
No, 2015 was the highest Super Bowl.
Is that
wait, the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers?
Denver and Seattle. Oh, Denver. Oh,
2015 Super Bowl.
I did not know that was that one. I said
highest ranked Super Bowl. Highest ranked viewer Super Bowl. They had 114.44 million viewers. Wow. The highest in the history of Super Bowls. Cam Newton versus Peyton Manning.
You know, they always talk about Carolina such a small market. That's why that surprised me. Denver is too, kind of, but wow. That's
crazy,
impressive.
right? Right. So now, fact number 2 is that the NFL started actually using Roman numerals behind the Super Bowl number. And they actually they started using it because they said it provided better clarification and that they were easier to understand and they were straightforward. So nobody had any discrepancy. So that's how the whole Roman numeral system came to be. Okay. And Super Bowl 50 was the only Super Bowl that didn't use Roman numerals because the Roman numeral was an L and they didn't want nobody to think that they was trying to like pun intended or cause issues, anything like that. So they didn't use it.
That was y'all Super Bowl.
Huh?
That was y'all Super Bowl. Super Bowl 50.
2015 Super Bowl 50. The tickets of today's Super Bowl start at $5,950 a ticket. That's the average price of the starting price of a ticket. Okay. Now, something else that you may not have known is that all the artists that perform at the Super Bowl, they perform for free.
I did know that. Yeah, Michael Jackson said it one time. Wow.
They perform for free. The NFL does pay for like their travel and arrangements and all of that stuff, but they actually do the shows for free. So those artists don't get paid for those things. And you may or may not know that no Super Bowl ring has the same design. And that's because the team actually gets to decide what goes on the ring.
Okay.
Okay. And then the only teams that have never gone to a Super Bowl have been the Lions, the Jags, the Texans, and the Browns.
They've never been. Okay. So
Never
the Bengals
gone.
have been, they just haven't won.
Yeah,
Okay.
they've never gone.
That's right. The Bengals
Okay.
lost to the 49ers. That's right. They have gone. Okay.
Yep. The first Super Bowl ticket price, guess that. What do you think that was?
Okay. Super Bowl one was in the 60s.
1967.
Okay. Green Bay won that one. I would say, hey, $67 since that's the year. $67.
$12.
12. Sheesh.
The first Super Bowl ticket was $12. We done
And you
jumped
said-
from 12 to $5,950. What is really going on?
In 56
Okay.
years, and in 56 years, so it's gone up like $1,000. No, wait,
A couple
Sounds like
$100 a
like-
year. So
like
yeah, it's
$100 every year.
crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right. So in 1972, you will never believe this. So now typically the Super Bowl MVP comes from the winning team. The only exception to that was in 1972 when they actually chose for the Super Bowl MVP to come from the losing team, which happened to be the Baltimore Colts.
And that was the 72 Dolphins, right? So, because they were perfect that year, right? Or did it happen? It was in 1972 for the 71 season.
It's the 1972 Super Bowl. So I guess so because they do the year before, so it had to be the 72 Dolphins then. So yeah, but they chose the MVP came from the Baltimore Colts.
And they lost. So that's
And
crazy.
they lost.
Wow.
Right. And the last fact, because I did 10 facts, the last fact is that the Super Bowl is the second highest food consumption day behind Thanksgiving.
Behind Thanksgiving. That makes sense. That makes sense.
You know, I like to break y'all off with some y'all gonna learn some stuff with your girl, okay? Because I will
absolutely.
dig and dig on you. I will drop you down. And I'm gonna tell you, one day y'all gonna be on Jeopardy and y'all be like, I know that because I was watching WTF Too. I know that was first Super Bowl was 1967. I know that.
Right.
All right. Anyway, we can proceed to the third quarter.
Had no idea about that. Wow, that's dope. And of course, like you said, like everything that kind of transitioned this week and transpired this week, you actually mentioned in the halftime show. We'll pick up with some of that here in the third quarter because amidst all the hustle and bustle of championship weekend, the coaches are emerging in front of some of those topics with, Josh McDaniel, of course, being hired by the Raiders, Brian DeBall hired by the Giants, but a former NFL coach, Brian Flores, filed a class action lawsuit against the NFL, the Patriots, the Giants, and the Broncos. Now, Touchdown Tomboy, what are your thoughts on these hirings and, more importantly, the lawsuit from Flores?
Okay, so now some of these hires I think are justified, and some of them I'm a little confused about. Now Brian Daboll, he's done a tremendous job with Josh Allen. So I can't say that I don't understand. So that I think that he'll be probably an exceptional coach. I think he'll be a superb coach. And then Nathaniel Hackett, my jury's still out on him. I know that he's worked with Aaron Rodgers, and my jury's just out on him. I know he's worked with Aaron Rodgers, but I don't know. I don't feel like I know or seen enough from him offensively, because see, here's the issue that I have, because when they came to that team, Green Bay was not a bad team. You see what I'm saying? So I don't feel like he's done enough. Like when I think about what Brian Daboll has done with Josh Allen was like this raw around the edge guy that needed a lot of refining. So Dorsey and Brian Daboll in the offseason, they kind of worked with him, got him retrained on his throwing motion. So I know all the dynamics of that. And then you saw the leap from Josh Allen of the previous year to that year. But Aaron Rodgers was already in his stride. So I
Right.
can't say the same for Nathaniel Hackett. I can't. So I don't know what that's going to feel like in Denver. I don't know. I don't know if it was really that Aaron was just already good and he was just riding on that coattail and he happened to be the hire, or if the guy really has skill. I don't know.
Right.
And then, Matt Elberfris, well, how they pronounce it?
Oh yeah, this went to Chicago. I forgot about
Right.
these other coaches.
Yeah, and he was a defensive coordinator, and I'm thinking, why would you hire a defensive coordinator? Poor Virginia McCaskill, the owner of the Bears. Lady, she 100 years old. I know she's not picking these people. She can't be. Somebody in her family is picking these people. But here's the thing. You got a young stud in Justin Fields. It would have benefited him the most if you had somebody that had maybe a quarterback coach or offensive coordinator. I could have understand that kind of move before I understood you going to hire a defensive coordinator, like from the Colts, and the Colts didn't make the playoffs. But hey, I digress. And they've been struggling. Now, don't get me wrong, they got Leonard, Darius Leonard, and he's a stud, but that defense is kind of not been always what it's been in past years, so I'm a little confused about that. And I think the one that I'm most baffled about has to be the Josh McDaniels. I just thought he would never be a head coach ever again, simply because of all the drama that transpired around him in Denver, then the cheating fiascos, and then people was like, he didn't work, and then it wasn't like, it was like hush hush. It's not like we saw Denver was actively interviewing this person. At least some of these other teams, I'm like, we saw them interviewing these people, or they requested to interview this person. They just jump and say, well, we're gonna hire him. Like, what? Huh? Say what? Like, that was confusing as all get out to me. And then it did not help that his record when he was in Denver was 11-17. But then he claims, well, that was because it's not that I didn't know football. I just didn't know how to have really good relationships with people. No, relationships with people ain't got nothing to do with you winning.
Right.
I.e., hence, which I'm leading into this now, the same issue that they claim with Flores. I wouldn't give a flipping crap about if he had a good relationship with me, because I'm not paying him for that. I'm paying him, my coach, to be a leader of men. Can he lead men? And Flores has shown in his, with the exception of his first season, and the last 2 seasons, they won 10 games. This season, they won 9 games, that he can be a leader of men. That place was in a debacle when he first got there to Miami. And so to see the progression of what he did, that was all Flores. So say what you want about him. The man could coach.
Right.
And for me, I just think that I'm surprised that he's the first one to do it, but I thought that it's been brewing for a long time. For this NFL lawsuit to be brewing for a long time. But here is my thing, and this is what I was telling my husband this morning. It's not going to make a difference if Flores puts this lawsuit out there, if the players and the other coaches that it's affecting don't step up and say, no, we're not taking this, and almost got to take the same stance that the NBA took and had that whole lockout season. The NFL is 70% Black. So you made no change ever comes without sacrifice. So here's the thing. If you're not willing to sacrifice, then you can't cry that the changes don't happen. They locked out the NBA, and those boys got what they wanted. They were united in it. And here's the thing, you may have to unionize where some of these players that are getting paid bukus of money may have to give money to the other ones, to the lower ones, to make sure that they can survive. That may have to be your stance. But what you're doing it for the greater good of the ones that are coming behind you, so they don't have to deal with this anymore. Because I can promise you, these rich owners, that's the only language they talk is money. And until their pockets are affected, none of it matters. And that's where I'm at with that.
That's very true. I'm glad you mentioned, I forgot about a couple of those other coaches. I guess they were, I don't know, they just completed bypass, or maybe because the other ones were more stand out more for me. I don't know, but I'm glad you brought them up because I completely forgot about them. And I agree with you. I like the Giants hiring. Of course, I was definitely pulling for Flores. I mean, he's from Brooklyn. He's the homie, offensive mastermind. But yeah, the Ball's resume is very impressive as well. I mean, he did rejuvenate that Bills offense. He did rejuvenate Josh Allen, completely change in an offensive makeover for Allen. I mean, that has Brian DeBall all over it. All of Josh Allen's improvement, strictly Ken Dorsey, strictly Brian DeBall. Um, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. It obviously points to them. So I do expect a lot of improvement for the Giants. The only thing that really concerns me though is that it is still Daniel Jones, an uncertain young Daniel Jones. Like, are you going to be able to kind of like Josh Allen? Even though he struggled, you could kind of see some potential. We're talking about a Daniel Jones coming off of injury. We're talking about what's going to happen with Saquon Barkley. Obviously, like Sterling Shepard, he's gone through a divorce and stuff. I mean, where's his mindset? He's been injured. So it's that and the surrounding pieces. Like, it's so much uncertainty that the Ball is walking into, where I felt like Josh Allen, it wasn't as much of an incomplete situation. The other thing that concerns me too is that Brian DeBall does not run the ball. So are you gonna really make Daniel Jones your complete offense because you're so one dimensional? Are we really trusting Daniel Jones to be that guy with this? Like, because you're gonna have a whole lot of reshaping and improvement to do if you do that. And that's part of the reason also why I wanted Flores, because I honestly thought with Flores, you were going to get Watson. It was going to be a tandem. And like, I trust Watson, even though Watson's got all that stuff going on. I've seen Watson still have a successful season without DeAndre Hopkins his last year that he played in Houston. So I have more trust issues with Daniel Jones than I did with Deshaun Watson. And I just really feel like if Flores would have went to Watson, would have went to New York, we would have seen Watson again. That attempt to him having him come to the team would have happened again. And I honestly think that that's the type of splashes that the Giants need after suffering and being in the bottom of the basement, the bottom of the barrel for so long, and 5 years without being in the playoffs. And then it seems like the rest of the division's getting better. So I don't know. I just wanted some bigger splashes from the Giants in that case. As for the Raiders, not surprising. The Raiders are a blunder as usual. So you mean to tell me you went out and you hired a guy who has been known to be involved in cheating scandals? He's gotten fined. He's below 500 as a head coach. And the other thing, when you were making your points, don't forget, he also was the coach for the Colts for about the same amount of time as a wide receiver runs of the 40-yard dash in a combine. I mean, he could have raced them. It was grand opening, grand closing. And so you're trusting this guy. I mean, I know that they were saying that they asked McDaniel, was the Tuck rule, what do they think about that with Tom Brady? And supposedly he said, yeah, it was definitely a fumble. And they were kind of like, okay, you're hired. And honestly, that's probably all it took for him to get in there, because if you look at his resume, there's no other reason why you should have taken Josh McDaniels. Probably the one thing that I will give him credit for is that their offense is probably going to be in really, really, really good hands. I don't know if Carr is going to be there still, but I expect their offense not to have a lot of issues at all. But the defense has been the problem. So I honestly thought the Raiders probably should have went more with a defensive coach, like the opposite of Chicago, or Chicago should have went with the offensive coach because of Justin Fields. But of course, Chicago, that's usually all they do is go for defensive coaches. But I honestly think it should have been a switcheroo as far as I really think that the Raiders should have focused on a more of a defensive minded coach as opposed to offense. But I do think that their offense will probably do well. But again, this does not surprise me with the Raiders. This is a very dysfunctional organization. So yeah, I mean, you saw the love that Richie B was getting from players and how he
They
turned that
loved
ship.
him.
Yeah,
They
and I
loved
don't
him. Like
understand.
they
Yeah,
were wasn't
yeah,
Nate Hobbs came out and was like, I ain't had no
right,
daddy. This man was like a daddy to me. And I'm
right.
like, and then he was winning. And I'm like, well, why you going away from that? But
Have
hey,
no idea. It's crazy. And I honestly think that the Raiders will probably have combust once again. And I'll be happy to see that. But good luck out there, Cadet. And let's see how long McDaniels lasts and how it goes. Now for Brian Flores, it's still so much to process and digest. It's happening so fast. there keeps being new text messages come out. He's been on the news this morning discussing stuff. His lawyers have been with him. Hugh Jackson getting involved. It's just so much going on. And I appreciate his boldness and standing up. And also the other thing is, like, where like a Hugh Jackson is stepping in now. I like that Flores is so young doing this. Like, I almost think that Hugh Jackson kind of still had that, like, I know I'm dealing with 60 and 70-year-old white men. I'm older. I ain't got no time and energy for this. I like that Brian Flores is a younger guy. The younger people, we really don't deal with racism like our forefathers and our aunts. You know what I'm saying? Like, where we're kind of like, you got some fighters, but in our history, but we're kind of exposing it more so quicker than other people did a generation or two ago. And of course, social media is a big involvement in that. But we got receipts now, we got texts, we got ways of screenshot. So I appreciate Brian Flores for being so aggressive in this, and I'm glad he's got some backing. The only thing that concerns me, and I totally agree with him, and we've always talked about racism existing with the league being, you're meaning to tell me that the black guys are fine enough to play for you, but they're not fine enough to coach for you when you got 70% of the league black. Like, oh, they're good enough to entertain. We don't trust you to coach. We don't trust you to make these decisions that could change the outcome of the game. Miss me with that BS right there. But my big concern with Flores is how they're going to try to skew this. Like, how do you prove it? Like the John Elway stuff, him being drunk. Honestly, I think John Elway's been drunk his entire NFL career on and off the field. So I don't know how they can relate that to racism. If he was drunk, or he feels like, oh, he only took that interview with me to meet the criteria for the Rooney Rule. I agree. But how do you prove it? I mean, even to the point where the mix up with the text with with Bill Belichick texting the wrong Brian. And it's like, you can't say, because they had already interviewed Leslie Frazier, and they already interviewed their defense, the Giants it is, and they already interviewed the defensive coordinator on staff. So they met the Rooney Rule requirement. So how can you relate it to racism? Like, granted, I feel like they were wasting your time. They already chose it. I don't know, maybe they want to, like, yeah, let's throw one more black guy in so we can really say we met the criteria. Probably so, and I agree. It's just, how do you prove it? That's the hard part of this whole case, is just convincing them without a reasonable doubt that this is why they did it was because of racism. That's the battle he has. But I agree with him. I think he's absolutely right. It's just trying to convince them to come to the other side and see it that way. That is the battle. That's the obstacle that he has here. That's the part that concerns me. I don't know how he's going to get them to change their mind.
I'm gonna tell you. Let me tell you how the only way I see that kind of coming down the pipe is because they always think that all black people just claim that people be racist. Right. So, but I feel like the one thing that could possibly happen is if he has a white person, because there are some that are very progressive, and they be like, no, that steps up and that's of some status in his favor and says, this has been happening. And the thing is I'm not gonna say that is necessarily out the window, because sometimes they feel like, oh, you know what, I've seen it long enough. And even people have started to speculate, and even I've speculated it. Don't get me wrong. I think Bill Belichick is kind of bad with the text messages and stuff like that, but I don't believe that he didn't know the difference in the phone between Brian Daboll and Brian Flores. Like, I just don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, you done had a whole, and then after you figured out, and then he kept going after he figured out it was Flores. So to me, I almost feel like it was some purpose in that. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of feel that way. Because as intelligent as Bill Belichick is, and I know we do it as people, I feel like it was almost too deliberate to not be on purpose.
No, I agree. I mean, even kind of like, are you sure? Because I don't interview until Thursday. He's like, something that I don't know? Like, it was so much context that kind of made you believe, like, dude, this is not, like, why is the green light I mean, why is the light bulb not turned on in your head yet? So I don't know. I'm just so worried about him with these possible detrimental consequences. But I commend him. I definitely think he's 100% right. Just God, getting the proof in there, getting them to take that evidence and realize that this is definitely a problem. I hope some change comes. Ooh, I hope some change comes in, and I honestly think that he has a strong case to do so. And Ross is probably going to have to sell the Miami Dolphins, just like Sterling had to do with the Clippers. You up here cancel checks, offering money and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll definitely see how it goes. But this is a huge situation going on in the NFL now. Probably even bigger than that Gruden stuff at this point. So definitely. All right. So concluding with the fourth quarter, after 22 years, the retiring of Tom Brady is official. The heralded quarterback steps away from the game, confirming what we've all been knowing since last weekend. I mean, Adam Schefter released it. Adam Schefter is like a human TMZ. If Adam Schefter and TMZ said it, it's the truth. So we already knew, but I guess Brady's issue was he wanted to say it himself, and he did so. So we got Brady, a big blockbuster retirement this past week, and then earlier this season we had Ben announce his as well. So what do you think about their tremendous careers, touchdown tomboy? And we've been talking about replacements for Ben, but also now Tom Brady's going to need a replacement. So what does Tampa look as well?
Wow. So first of all, what they call him, Thomas Patrick Edward Brady
Junior.
So the one thing about Tom Brady, even if I feel like his demeanor sometimes sucks, you can't take away the fact that Tom is an elite player. Like he's so, as they call him, cerebral when he with the game, that he understands. And I think that's a lot of the success that Tom has had. And I was looking at his stats, man, like, he has 7 rings, 79, almost 80,000 passing yards, like 581 touchdowns, and 7 Super Bowl rings. Like that, to me, is like, who's doing that? Like, that is an incredible. Now, I know it happened over a period of 20 years, but still, like, I don't know nobody else that got that many rings by themselves. So, just what Tom is doing. And like, here's the thing. My thing is I'm thinking that Arians is going to be gone in Tampa. And so I think the new quarterback will depend upon who the new coach is going to be. Because I think Arians only came back for Tom. So I don't know. But I mean, it's like I said earlier, I mean, it could be Kirk Cousins. It could be Jimmy G. I mean, they could end up with anybody, to be honest. So, I mean, it's going to be big shoes to fill anyway. Either way you go, New England's still struggling with that. So, I mean, tremendous, definitely Hall of Famer, Tom Brady is. And I mean, I think he's going to probably focus on his clothing line now, or his brand, the Tom Brady brand now. And I've seen him start doing some things. I've seen some little, I like photography of photographs and some little videos of some of his, I guess his little studs on his Neil deals and stuff like that. And I think one of those people is Deion Sanders' son is on his brand. So that's going to be interesting. And then of course, you can't, Big Ben is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer as well. 64,088 yards. So he almost had 70,000 yards himself, and he had 2 Super Bowl rings. So, Big Ben in his own right, just younger Big Ben, of course, was more fun to watch than older Big Ben, because it's kind of like watching this statue. But to be able to see these guys have longevity at this position in the field just tells a lot about how much the game has changed and how much the game is just really started to just now to try to protect players more. And so I just think it's just a testament to just, having that level of a career. Playing 20 years is a long time to throw a football. And I'm just excited about it. And I did look up, and I talked about the Hall of Fame last week, right? There was a year, I want to say in 2011, they did have 2 quarterbacks that came out the same year, and they both made the Hall of Fame. So I went and looked that up because I wanted to know.
Right, because Ben was going definitely. I mean, Tom was going to go in over Ben
Right.
hands.
So
It's
it
hands
is
in there.
definitely possible. It's definitely possible. And it's in recent years. I thought I wrote it down, but I didn't. But it was 2 quarterbacks in recent years that were in the same class and they both got rings at the same time. They came out the same. And so I don't think that's going to impede them anymore, but I'm just really excited. And I felt like it was just honorary, you know, to two veterans of the game that have basically, we watched them over TV for 20 years. And so for me, like, it's hard to see it because it's like, I know the game is transpiring, but it's like, dang, I'm not gonna see him on TV no more. I can't be mad and be like, I hate Brady. Why don't he sit down somewhere? Why he always got me in the Super Bowl? So it's like, it's almost sad at the same time because it's like you're seeing this transformation happen. And of course, that's just the progression of life. But I mean, they've had amazing careers, and I hope they have nothing but success in whatever they decide to do long term.
Absolutely. I think you kind of wrapped up everything there. So I won't even touch the question itself, but I will just kind of piggyback off what you were saying about us not seeing them again. I mean, we as fans, we've taken some blows with these quarterbacks here these past few years. I mean, we just lost Drew Brees last year to retirement. Phillip Rivers is gone. I mean, a couple years ago, we lost Eli. These are like who we've grown up with these past 20 years, as you alluded to. And don't get me wrong, the game's in great hands with this up and coming class. You know, the Chargers quarterback, Mahomes, Burrow. So the future is bright. But yeah, we kind of have to just sit back and think like, you know, Aaron Rodgers is like the only one left, and Russell Wilson, of course, a few years after that. But yeah, we've lost a big part of our childhood and adulthood, and a lot of the quarterbacks who have evolved our love and passion for the game, they've been solely responsible for a lot of our knowledge and our passion and our enjoyment of the game. So it is going to be a huge adjustment, even though we do have a bright future ahead of us. But yeah, that's crazy. We're losing 2 more at the same time. So yeah, Aaron Rodgers, maybe we do need you to pump out 1 more year wherever you go, just so we can kind of digest this process of the quarterbacks that we knew of our generation stepping down and retiring. So good stuff from you there. Touchdown time, boys, always. All right, so for overtime, we head into this weekend, anticipate next weekend's Super Bowl with a placeholder. We should call it the Pro Bowl. It's, you know, kind of like a little appetizer here. Now, it's spent some time in Hawaii. It's been in Florida. Now, this year is going to Las Vegas, also the site of the NFL draft, which will occur in a couple of months. Now, there's been some changes. You know, it used to be AFC versus NFC. The coaches used to be AFC and NFC. The game used to be the week after Super Bowl. It's now the week before Super Bowl. Yeah, so lots of changes there. So touchdown time, boy, what do you think about the changes? Do you like them? Do you want them to go revert to some of the other changes, to some of the other ways that the Pro Bowl was set up? Are you watching? What are your thoughts?
If I can be honest, I love the game, but the Pro Bowl has never really appealed to me. And I think it's because it's more for fun. And so you don't really see real action. It's kind of like more of like this camaraderie. It's more like an accolade to say, hey, we were the best at what we do. But it's like not no real like pad hitting because they ain't trying to get injured and all this other stuff. So it's kind of like, yeah, I like to see who made the list, because to me that's honorary. That's saying that you were the best at your job. And so I look at that. But all the other stuff, honestly, I don't care that much about, whether it's in Vegas, whether it's in Florida, Hawaii. I don't care. Like, you know, I just like to see who's on the list, and I like to say whether I agree or not, or I like, you know, this player, I feel like this player should have made it, or he should have been alternate or whatever. But in terms of the actual Pro Bowl itself, I don't usually entertain it because it's not a real game. It's more for camaraderie, just to say the NFL celebrated, you know, its best players and stuff like that. I feel like, honestly, the energy of the All-Star game is honestly more entertaining because they do so many more tricks. And then, of course, with the 3-point contest and all that stuff. So it's kind of like that's more entertaining, but we don't really have those sub things that cause the entertainment to the actual Pro Bowl. So I guess that's part of the reason why I'm like, yeah, I look at it now. I think it's a great accolade to have on your resume to say I was a Pro Bowl player, for this many years, because that means that you were the best at what you did. But in terms of the actual Pro Bowl itself, yeah, tomato.
Yeah, wow, that's interesting. You surprised me with that one because I just thought because it's football you watch, but you bring up some very interesting points and facts there, and I certainly understand. When the Pro Bowl was the week after Super Bowl, I definitely didn't watch it. I care a little bit more now. I missed the AFC versus NFC format because honestly, that was the only way I knew who was on what team, because now they do these drafts and I mean, I get why they stopped it, because you play with the same players every year unless you go into the other conference with free agency or trading, whatever. So I get why they broke it up, and it breaks up the monotony, and that's great. And plus, they got away from those gaudy red, white, and blue uniforms, because when it was AFC, which stands for American Football Conference, versus NFC, National Football Conference, like they always kept the uniforms red, white, and blue because National and American.
I know.
So yeah. So I'm glad they're away from that, because I like the new uniforms, the versatile with the bright colors. They get a little bit more fancy with the cleats. So I like it's appeasing to the eye. I do like that. I wish they kept it in Hawaii though, because I kind of thought that was great for like the fans out there that don't get to come to the mainland games because of the distance or not able to, whatever. And plus, if you make the Pro Bowl, I feel like Hawaii is like a vacation. Like, you made the Pro Bowl, you should have Hawaii as like a vacation. You can take your family, take some friends. Like, I honestly felt like there was another bonus to making the Pro Bowl. You get this vacation in Hawaii. So I wish they would have kept it there. I mean, Vegas is fun, but it's also still Sin City. So, I like the Hawaii consistency of it. But that's for sure. I watch it because it's in between. It's a placeholder. It gets me through to know, because I know the Super Bowl's coming. But had they kept it after the Super Bowl, definitely it's a no. Like Randy Jackson on American Idol, it's a no for me. But yeah, I agree with you. It's just an exhibition game, and it's a lot of offense for the most part, because like you said, nobody's really trying to hit anybody. It's just more of a, you made it to the Pro Bowl, congratulations, and the game is just that, and it's just more fanfare than anything. So yep, good stuff. Well, we're of course waiting for the big one the next Sunday on February the 13th. So Touchdown Tomboy, anything else you want to add? Thoughts, concerns for this episode?
I'm so excited about this Super Bowl. I was deciding whether I was taking off work based upon who was playing in the Super Bowl, because I was like, if I gotta see Kansas City again, I'm just go to work because I'm sick of it. But I am taking off because I was like, I called my mother-in-law. I was like, look, I'm gonna need some good snacks.
Right. I know that's right.
But yeah, so it's crazy. But yeah, so I'm excited about it, and I think it's gonna be a good one. But we'll be back next week, of course, to discuss it, to the prelude of it and all of that stuff. So it's gonna be exciting. Woo!
Absolutely. And of course, we'll be watching this Brian Flores stuff as it develops. So maybe we'll have more to talk about with that next week. Still a couple more coaching vacancies too. Maybe they'll be filled by then. So we'll definitely see how it goes. No doubt. So for Touchdown Tomboy, Gridiron Goddess, this is WTF Too, Women Talk Football 2 on She Has Been the Network. Thank you all so much again for tuning in, for the feedback. We'll catch you next week. We out.